My name's Andrew Barnes. I've been the principal here at the school for about 16 years, and it's a school of around 500 primary school aged children. The Loose Parts journey started from a place of us struggling to prevent or to reduce violence, fights, difficult behaviours in the school playground. And I guess I was at a loss as to what to do. We had many conversations, and then I was in conversation with Hayano, who mentioned the fact that perhaps play might be of key importance here. So back during COVID, we got together some loose parts. I was rather reluctant and hesitant, a little bit anxious, and I was assured that things would work out well, and we did. We stepped out and did it, and it had an almost immediate positive effect on the behaviour in the playground. And even if it hadn't, the joy and the beauty of it and the wonder of it for the children and the way that it helped them would have justified it. But it certainly had a positive effect on the difficulty that we were addressing. I feel like it's 4 years. It must be 3 or 4 years. Yes. So 2019, 20. Yes. For me, it's super important. I spent a lot of time in that space, and I suppose it's meant something to me in terms of seeing children develop and blossom and grow and communicate and learn to be more resilient and to be successful and confident. So I've seen that in real time, and it's had an amazing surprise for me and impact on me. But I also feel as an educational leader that we need to be aware that we live in a world where play has been diminished and shrunk and disappeared out of education, in some ways become a side issue or something that might be age appropriate for little kids, but we've forgotten or not realised its importance. And I think we also, as an education, I'm going to say this, as an educational leader, I feel like we're addressing problems about children's well-being, their anxiety, their social development, their language development, their resilience, and their problem solving, and their engagement in what we call learning. And I've discovered that play is the place for children it is a significant place where they develop those very things. So I think we'd still be dealing with a churn of conflict in the playground, of negative, punitive behaviour management systems that don't really work. And I think that staff morale wouldn't have. I mean, there's a lot of staff who have found this whole project extremely satisfying to be a part of, and are proud of it. And so, in a school in a disadvantaged area, for teachers to feel some joy about their work and what's occurring in kids' lives is super important. So I don't think we'd be in as happy a place as we're in. It's still tough going, but it's a really wonderful thing to have this woven through our school, through the life of our school, not just a side project, but it's very much embedded in the life of the school. Yes, so we've had children come with known chronic trauma, anxiety, withdrawal from social interactions, who have come into the one in particular I'm thinking of, couldn't even go into class, spent a lot of the time screaming and distressed. Over the years, it seems that particular young girl has developed not just the ability to get along with others and put up with things that go wrong, disappointments, loss of control over things, but has become a leader and has become a confident leader and communicator. And so, I could name many stories. Some of them are merely the fact that the child was electively mute and began to speak in those places, in those playgrounds, because what they're doing means a lot to them in those places, and they had need of communication. One little thing is that we've noticed, I've noticed, I think you've noticed too, that children ask each other for help. Rather than reacting negatively to something, they'll seek out help and be successful in getting it. And wow, that's important.
That sparks friendship.
That sparks friendship. It's a lifelong attribute that's going to help them. And that's part of the beauty of this multi-age type play, where they're not just playing with their absolute peer group, but there's a sort of a culture of mentoring the younger, or seeking help from the older, or admiration for some project that someone more skillful has achieved, and the way that weaves itself into a sort of fabric of like a village where children sort of come to life in very complex ways. So that's wonderful stuff. And often in schools, children are separated into their age groups, and this sort of country town environment where children used to play on the street and get with older kids and younger kids. That's it's one of the aspects of this play that seems to be important. They used to here. That was our main issue, that they occurred during play break, and often it was children who were perhaps bored and seeking stimulation. So they'd walk around and find some little conflict, and then people would gather, and that would turn into a bigger conflict. And the conflicts are stimulating to watch, so people are drawn to that. And then that would tumble into the classroom after break with a lot of distress or upset or unsettled sort of presentation. So we don't get many fights in the playground now, especially on days when the Jumanji playground's open and Loose Parts is open. The data is in on that. Yes. A teacher would much prefer, any good teacher, and they are good, would much prefer a child with muddy feet than a child that was ready for a fight. It certainly does flow onto the parents, and the parents, like me, at first wondered about this strange thing we were doing, but within weeks they saw that once I think you've said to me, once you see children in these places, it makes sense, and it's made sense to parents. And they've also reported that their children have gone home, and instead of being inside on their device, they've been in the backyard making things, building things, and engaging with other children in their homes. So they've turned their homes into little Loose Parts playgrounds. Yeah. It means more than just a place to play. It means something where they've had voice and agency and choice, and they've worked together really hard to make it happen. So it's a matter of pride and achievement, and it's a place where they feel that they are welcomed in a way that is rarely something they've experienced. They feel that Jumanji is a place for them, and it's a place for them, and so they enter it with a great respect for it and an enjoyment of it that we probably don't even understand. So the fact they've had a lot of voice in making it happen, and they've engaged in all that hard work and the committees and the marketing and the planning, has been great for them, and it's just valued by them, deeply valued. Yeah. Well, we have the word learning, and we have the word education, and we focus a lot on learning these days. But if you look at other languages like German with Bildung, I don't know how to pronounce it, that kind of education was about the whole child in the world, with their feet on the ground, learning about how to live and how to be and what to do when things go wrong. And I think these places that we talk about as play spaces are places where real education is actually happening.
Okay, so your school donated this land for us to use. Without them agreeing to let us do this, we wouldn't have it. Is there any message you would like to pass on to them?
Well, thank you for letting them make Jumanji Land. It really means a lot to me. And I'm glad I go to the school.
That's amazing. Anything else you'd like to say?
I'm just lucky that I go to the school. That's what I have to
Yes,
say.
we are. All right. See you later, Amity.
Bye.
Bye.
Amity has made an active choice to use play and engage in play for her own well-being. And any talk about well-being zeroes in on the fact that the person has to take control over it themselves. And so here we're seeing children realise the power of play in their lives and going, this is important, I need to do this. And that's really massive. Free, wild, I need more than 3. It's full of surprise. It's messy, I'm going to keep going. Unpredictable and wonderful. Yes, I think it's great, and I was not full of confidence at first, and I needed a little bit of education and information to understand this new area for me. It's an area, this is the idea of play, and a little divergence, is that I think most of us older people realise the value of it. We realise it's important. We realise that it is something we had in our lives perhaps that children don't have now, so therefore we see it's important, but we still have some anxiety about actually putting it in place in schools and places like this. So I suppose the 2 things that have been great help for us have been good information about the theory of play, the importance of play, and advice, practical advice from the AIP about how to do this safely and well. Good professional development, and also the model that we've used with the Australian Institute of Play of having Jumanji sort of given to them and under an agreement, that works well in schools, and that's a model that can be replicated safely in other schools. And I think it would relieve a lot of anxiety and cause a lot more people to be interested in doing this at their place. So I'd love to promote that. No, I would love to see a day when funding was available for AIP to establish a more permanent and I guess bigger, or through the holidays, after school, some sort of service that could be available to families and children in those long holiday periods where we don't see them and we worry. So I'd love to see the AIP extend its services into the after school, weekend or holiday periods. Now that's a perhaps pipe dream, but I think we should fight hard for it. In a place like this setting, in this suburb, there is a little bit of fear for parents of allowing their children out on the street just to play freely. And I guess there's generally in our society more fear about that than there used to be. As we all know, we used to come home when the sun went down. So children are playing inside a lot and on small devices and playing games. And while they might be getting really good at that, they're missing certain experiences that are really important for human development, in social development, communication, resilience, and physical. We've not mentioned a lot about this, but physical well-being, health, movement, coordination, balance, the systems in the body that need to be moving and on uneven ground. I don't feel our children are experiencing a lot of that, and I can see that, and I think you have, when we first introduced children into uneven, wild spaces, and it takes some weeks to get used to that.
Yeah.
So that's another benefit. I don't think they're having that these days. So children are missing out big time. And my fears about injuries were unfounded. I was worried about stuff that looked a little bit risky, It is carefully thought about and designed and monitored, and checked for hazards, but we certainly have had far more injuries on the man-made, adult-made, I should say. We've had far more injuries on the adult constructed playgrounds in this school and on the footpaths and walkways and monkey bars than we've ever had in Jumanji or loose parts, which have been relatively free of injury. Okay. Jumanji Land helps me feel that we're providing children with a good life. And that's important to educators. It helps me because I know that it's late in my career. It's something that I've discovered that fits with what I believe children need. It helps me because I like the space myself, and it's a beautiful part of our school. Something I should mention is that it was out of bounds. It was a wild place you're not allowed to go. So the children, like any person, were tempted by going there because it was out of bounds and wanted to go there, but it was too wild. So opening it up and allowing it to be used, once we did that, we discovered that it was actually the most beautiful part of the school, with towering ironbarks and eucalypts and birds, wildlife, amazing place to just physically be. And the children discovered that, and they showed that to us as adults, and their voice was allowed to produce that. And to me, it's sort of like it's inspired me to do that work in our suburb or our locality, to allow local people to make a difference in this community and have choice and agency and make what is considered a bad, neglected, out of bounds, disadvantaged area to rise up and become what it actually is, a wonderful place. So the children have inspired me to do work in the community in a way that they have done. So it's sort of a microcosm of a bigger principle. So it's been a lot there for me to think about. Yeah, I think it's generally made my job satisfaction better. In the stressful job, to have something like that to be a part of and to watch it grow has been very satisfying. So it's helped me. But it's also started me on a quest of learning about all of this, because I was very new to it. So it's opened up a world of stuff that I need to learn about. So that's good too. Yeah, I think a lot of the outcomes were surprises for me. I did it initially for a very limited, or we did it initially for a very limited reason, and that was improving behaviour. You know, in our ignorance. But the benefits have been things like oral language development. Like that's a really probably the first one I had noticed and would mention. And it's something that we care a lot about in this community.
So it helps them with
it's helped with oral language development, yeah. And any good speech pathologist will say that children need something purposeful to speak about, so there needs to be that to and fro, that reciprocal communication going on, and it's motivated by purpose, something that's meaningful to the child. That's why programs and packaged things are great, but they probably don't get anywhere near what we see. Social development, a child having to reach out for help that I mentioned, or we talk about resilience. A child hits their finger with a hammer and comes to me and says, "I've hit my finger with a hammer." And I say, "What do you want to do?" I say, "That's all right, I'll keep playing." And so that's, in that little anecdote, that's resilience developing physically and emotionally. I could keep going and going and going. Physical health, movement, balance, that sort of thing. And I suppose just generally relationship with the community, because the community now values this, the local community, the parents and the grandparents. The grandparents often value it very much because they have a sense of its importance innately inside them. So yeah, it's helped the school's relationship with the community. Oh goodness.
If you had to pack it up.
I'd be devastated. I hardly have an answer to that question. I'd be very upset, and I'd be struggling to communicate that to the community. And I think the community now realises the importance of this. I hope someday that this sort of play environment is not just here or at a few other schools, but across our society. I think it's an important reform that we need to carry out. So, yeah. I'll be a lifelong advocate for this sort of thing, no matter what happens. They'd be devastated. Absolutely devastated. Not just because of the lack of play, but because of the work that they've put into it, and the thinking they've put into it, and the love that they've put into it. So, yeah. I'd advise them to consult with the Australian Institute of Play and spend a fair bit of time having a good talk and learning, and perhaps visiting a school where the children are playing this way and seeing what it looks like. I think that's really important. And all I would say is that there are models of doing this that are workable. It can be done, and it can be done safely. And there are guidelines, there are resources, there are things available to help schools confidently wade into the water in this sort of work. And I think that's really important because we live in a risk-averse culture, and risks we try to get rid of all risk, and that's not a reality. That doesn't ever happen. We need to have risks that are manageable and challenges, and children need to ride a bike with two wheels, fall off. So I think we need to, I would advise them to get some support, information, help, and to see a model that's working, because they might be surprised at how easy it is to actually do this. It's more about allowing it to happen rather than doing anything spectacular. It's about saying, yeah, we're going to make this space and allow this to happen. We're going to learn how to step back a little bit. So part of it is stepping back and allowing children to play, and allowing them to have a space where they're allowed to play. Pretty simple.
I've tripped down here before.